Hang Gliding Flight School is a free educational resource created to share the fun and adventure of flying by encouraging, teaching, and inspiring aviators of all ages. Aviation videos provide a supplement, never a replacement, for face-to-face, in-person training with qualified teachers. Visit www.hangglidingflightschool.com for a map of nearly 40 flight instructors in the USA.
Good day, aviators, and welcome to another episode of Hang Gliding Flight School. My name is Eric, and this episode of Hang Gliding Flight School is going to show you the first test flights of a short pack hang glider at Dockweiler Hang Gliding Center in El Segundo, California. So, what is a short pack hang glider? Well, if you've ever watched other videos on Hang Gliding Flight School, you have learned most hang gliders pack into storage bags, which are around 18 to 20 feet long on average. This glider packs into a bag which is only about 5 feet long, making it far easier to transport. Now, short pack gliders are not a new invention. Finsterwalder in Germany has made them, and so has Wilswing when they were headquartered in the United States. The problem with previous short pack gliders was the complexity of their structure made it take about 90 minutes to assemble. This short pack glider goes together in about half that time. So, here is the engineer and designer Florian Kohli to tell you a little more about it.
My name is Florian Kohli. I'm coming from Switzerland. I'm a gunsmith, and I start hang gliding June 3rd, 2023, and I love it. But a hang glider is really too big, so I decided to make a smaller one, or a big one, but that you can pack in a 4.6 feet bag. And today, November 18th, 2024, at Dockweiler, California, we test the glider and it flew, so it's a success. I'm very happy.
Here is the process of Florian setting up the short pack glider, or as he calls it, the tiny packed hang glider. He had a huge spread of tarps laid on the beach to protect the glider from the sand and try to keep it as clean as possible during assembly. Naturally, no one could help him during the assembly process because he is the only person who knows how to assemble his unique aircraft. He had a few clever and unusual design elements. For example, because the glider packed into such a small case, the sail needs to be folded very precisely, and that is why there are small dots all over the sail. These dots help him to line up and fold the sail properly. I thought that was a very ingenious little thing to do. He also inserts the battens from the leading edge instead of the trailing edge. And furthermore, instead of using cord or plastic tips, there is simply a Velcro pocket which closes over the batten. Now, this is not a great design since it can disrupt a smooth laminar flow of air over the leading edge, but the Velcro pockets might be an interesting way to secure battens from the more traditional trailing edge side. The metalwork on the glider is as impeccable as you would expect from a gunsmith. Florian may not be an expert in aircraft design, but as an expert in gunsmithing, his metalwork is beautiful and clean. And when creating the tubing for the airframe, Florian told me he had help and input from Finsterwalder, who is a highly respected German hang glider manufacturer. So with the combination of Swiss and German engineering, the aesthetic of the aircraft is quite elegant. Now, one of the most unique elements of the design was the lack of a crossbar. Instead of a traditional crossbar behind the leading edge, Florian created a cross batten, which was inside the sail. Joe Faust named this cross batten a Spannerot, and there are no reflex bridles or luff lines on this aircraft either. So as a result, you wouldn't want to fly this aircraft at high altitude, but it's fine for small training hills and practice. So once the glider was set up and ready to fly, all the test pilots and the witnesses took a moment to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Andy Beam. I'm the owner of Wind Sports Hang Gliding School, and I operate down here at Dockweiler Beach in Southern California, and also teach up in the northern Los Angeles area, a place called Cagle Mountain. Excited to see this new design.
Bob Benditson. I've been teaching here about 15 years. I have around 26,000 flights here.
Bob Kazuski, founder of US Hawks. Good to meet you. I started in '78. I think it's ready to go. I think I would vote for Andy to be the first pilot.
We all do.
Joe Faust, 1970 started, and I think the wing is good for a test flight today. Thank you, Florian.
RJ McKeon, I've been flying for about 8 years. I'm a Hang 4, and it feels good in the air. I think it's ready to take off from the hill.
My name is Erica Klein. I've been flying for about 17 years, started right here, and I'm really excited to see this go.
John Thierret from Saskatchewan, Canada. Started in 1980, like a couple of these old timers. Not much of a dune flyer, more of a prairie and mountain flyer, but yeah, I got a good feeling about this glider, and I do agree that Andy should try it probably first.
Frank Culver, I started flying in 1971 and got back into flew till 1980, got back into it in 2015, and I'm a member of USHGA number 7.
The very first steps were to do some simple kiting of the glider to see how it moved in the wind. Bob Kazuski and Joe Faust did some kiting just to see if the glider flew on its own. It actually did quite well and was easy to control on the nose wires. So that was a very good sign that it had some aerodynamic stability. Now Andy Beam also tested wafting some bubbles over the airfoil to see if there was smooth airflow over the wing. This is a simple way to give a general idea of laminar air movement. Now after the kiting and bubble test, pilots began to ground handle the glider by simply running across flat ground to test the stability of the aircraft as it started to fly. So after working on a little ground handling, it was time for the first flight. Now Andy Beam has test flown other hang gliders and even flown a replica of the Otto Lilienthal glider. So since Andy had the most experience with flying experimental aircraft, it was unanimous among all the pilots present that he should try first.
Bamboo butterfly, and we had to figure out how this thing flew. And half the time I flew a bamboo butterfly, that nose just shot right up in the air, came down on the keel, flipped on its back, broke all the bamboo, flying was over for the day. So
Well, it brings back a lot of memories.
I did that once on an Otto Lilienthal glider. But you just give them a wooden glue and it goes right back together.
So Andy, if we stay on your wings, do you want us to stay on the wings all the way down?
Yeah, I'll talk to you.
Because we do have 2 wires here.
I know.
Just be aware. So if we're on the front wire, we don't want to have the other one hit us in the back.
No, and the other thing that we can possibly do next year, we can't do it. But for the most part, we'll just take it slow and easy.
And do you want somebody on the keel too?
I'm thinking it might be a good idea, especially if I have a landing, the glider starts yawing, and we want to prevent it from turtling or anything like that.
Bob, how about you and I are on the side wires and Art is on the keel?
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right, so, and then I'd like to have somebody, a saving team on the ground at the bottom of the hill. So if I start going off, so we've got somebody to kind of run and help me down there. We got all these people here, let's utilize them.
Yeah. Do you want to, Andy, do you want to target?
5-second flight just to take off and land, right?
Yeah.
First of all, okay.
That's all we're doing.
He's gonna soar. If I know Andy, he's gonna soar.
The pilot is the only liable person on the glider, okay? Did you just, it's okay?
Yeah.
It's Andy? Everybody is okay with that?
Yeah, makes sense.
So,
Now keep in mind, I did not volunteer. They asked for a test pilot to step forward. I was the only one that didn't step back.
So with other pilots assisting on the wires for safety, Andy managed to get in the air briefly, and it was wonderful to see the joy and excitement from Florian. After 6 months of work and effort and traveling to the other side of the world, he had succeeded. His glider actually flew.
It's always fun to get to fly something new and different, so that was very enjoyable. Thank you.
Are you willing for a follow-up try?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you learn a lot on the first little run.
Yeah. You know what you learn most? How easy it is to get back up the hill.
You can disassemble it if you want.
Huh?
You can disassemble it. Put it in the back.
Yeah, bring the tarps
Thanks
down.
a lot. Thanks a lot.
So,
Here, what was your impression?
I want to video you now. I want to see your response after your first. So here's the inventor. Oh, sorry. Of this hang glider. Just tell me what his first response. Just saw the first flight.
I can say it comes in the history of hang gliding, and 95% was done for weeks, and now we have the 5% left that is done, and Andy is the first pilot of the TPHG 4.6, and it flew. It's unbelievable. It's like the Wright brother, Otto Lilienthal. We are in 2024, and we did something new.
You know how they felt in the first flight. You got that feeling after their first flight.
For me, there is no injury. It flew. That's the most important. And it's here we have the dream team. We really have the dream team. Thanks.
All the pilots who attempted to fly the glider struggled to get it airborne. I believe Andy Beam, Bob Benditson, and Erica Klein were the only pilots who successfully got into the air. Everyone else just ran down the hill. And the problem was, even Andy, Bob, and Erica were unable to turn the glider once it was flying. So while Andy did have one good straight flight, it was pure luck that he managed to launch into a cycle without any crosswind. The moment the slightest crosswind began to turn the glider, there was no way to correct it. Most of the crosswind this day was coming from the north, which repeatedly pushed the aircraft into a left-hand turn. And you can see pilots pushing themselves to the right, attempting to compensate, but the glider simply wouldn't respond. And once the airfoil got into that left-hand turn, it just kept on going with no way to rectify the problem.
So it took a fair amount of effort to get it in the air, and then once I got it into the air, it felt mushy. So I had to let it in a little bit.
It looked like it crowded for quite a ways coming down.
And then when I did let it in a little bit, it gave me just enough energy to attempt a flare, and still had to kind of yaw it a bit.
Be careful with the flare, because
absolutely.
I'm not sure with the G.
Keep in mind, I have experience with an Otto Lilienthal glider.
I know.
So, what do you think about the bungee? Because you're not getting nothing.
This glider's not safe on a bungee.
Okay.
What we need to make sure we're doing is just short attempts like this. If we get a little bit more wind, we can see if we can do a little bit more with the trim. And but yeah, right now it feels like I've got heavy wing loading.
Heavy what, sorry?
Heavy wing loading. It feels like even though I'm 130 pounds, I feel like the glider's not big enough. But that's going to change if we get more wind, because with increased wind, we can get away with the heavier wing loadings. But I'd question whether Frank Culver could run fast enough to get this glider to lift in the air without a tremendous amount of wind. But still, that was a better flight than the first one, and we're making progress.
It was a great flight.
So,
Looked good.
get her up the hill.
I got to.
This whole exercise was basically a peer review of the aircraft. The biggest downside was the Spanneron cross batten. The intention was to replace the crossbar with the spanner-on, but as you can see from the video clips, the spanner-on actually deformed the airfoil shape. The combination of the spanner-on, the battens not extending to the trailing edge, and the lack of luff lines all contributed to cause immense sail flutter behind the spanner-on. Now, even a person with the most limited knowledge of aerodynamics can tell you, when a sail is fluttering like that, it's not producing any lift. And this appeared to be part of the reason it was so difficult to get the glider into the air, because you were losing a massive amount of surface area. You'll notice at one point, Andy mentioned it felt like the glider had a huge wing load. In other words, his body weight was simply too much for the inadequate lift being generated by the wing. Another problem caused by the spanner-on design was that it was rigid and prevented the sail from moving laterally, and this appeared to be a major reason why the glider wouldn't turn. And all the pilots present agreed and reached the same consensus. The absence of luff lines, reflex bridles, that's also an inadvisable idea, as they help maintain flight stability when a glider goes into a dive. Without the reflex bridles, a glider can fall into an irrecoverable nosedive, which happened to many unfortunate pilots on poorly designed gliders in the 1970s.
Push out to get airborne. Once you push out, get ready to lift the bar in as much as you can to try to get a moment or two in the air flying, and then plan on taking a few steps running as you flare on landing.
Inventors of new gliders probably shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. The basic design of modern hang gliders has been tested and refined for the past 40 years. The ideal tiny pack invention will likely stick with the established basic design and simply try to reimagine how it is assembled. Now, that's not to say no one should ever try anything new. I think reverting back to an inflatable glider, like the original NASA Regalo gliders, might be interesting. I mean, with 60 years of advancements in materials and the advent of battery-operated inflation tools, that might be an intriguing approach. All I'm saying is, the delta wing design is very efficient and refined, therefore you can't deviate from it too much, or it could cause unexpected problems. Now, I was offered a chance to fly the glider. I decided I would wait and watch the other pilots. If the other pilots flew the glider and it worked really well, I would have given it a try. But since most pilots couldn't even get it off the ground and no one had a controlled flight, I decided the risk was not worth it. I didn't want to injure myself or damage the aircraft. Now, I did step into the control frame and do some ground handling, and the aircraft was shockingly lightweight. I imagine replacing the crossbars with the spanner-on reduced the overall weight immensely. Now, I don't know the exact weight, but it definitely felt about 10 pounds lighter than an average glider. Near the end of the day, all the pilots and witnesses took a moment to sign the leading edge of the wing as memento of the event. All in all, it was a good day and a great series of test flights. There was a lot about the glider that didn't work, but there was also a lot that worked really well, and I see it as a great success. The glider flew, no one got injured, and the glider didn't suffer any severe damage. I'd say that is an excellent start to developing a new aircraft design. And I'm happy to say, right before I completed this video, I received an email from Florian which ended by saying, P.S. I'm working on the next tiny pack hang glider. I'm sure the lessons learned during these test flights will help refine the next aircraft to fly even better. The fact Florian built this initial aircraft in the first place is extremely admirable. You know, some people say the world needs more dreamers. But that's not true at all. The world has too many dreamers, too many people who sit around and fantasize about ideas and projects, but they never see them through to completion. Anyone can dream. There is nothing special about dreamers. Those who do what they dream are the exceptional ones. The innovators, the pioneers, these are the people who matter most. These are the people who carry the world forward. And the world needs far less dreamers and far more pioneers. Pioneers actually forge ahead into the frontier. Pioneers do the work, put in the effort, and turn dreams into reality. Even if Florian never brings it into production, he deserves to be praised for actually building a functional aircraft. Turning that vision into reality makes him a pioneer, and that is far more impressive an accomplishment than simply being a dreamer. Florian's first attempt is not a viable aircraft, as it was far too unstable and couldn't turn. But nevertheless, what Florian accomplished is still awesome, and I hope his next aircraft is even better.
I hope that his project inspires up-and-coming aerospace engineers to start their own hang gliding companies. After all, if a gunsmith in Switzerland can achieve this much progress in 6 months, just imagine what great innovations an aerospace engineer could develop in a year or two. Florian's aircraft may not be the future of our sport, but I hope it inspires talented engineers to build what that future will be. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Hang Gliding Flight School. Be sure to check the Hang Gliding Flight School website to find a worldwide map of nearby instructors who will train you to become a hang glider pilot. And remember, my friends, in the words of Ray Bradbury, you've got to jump off cliffs all the time and build your wings on the way down.